certainly hope that you recognize that as I start with my questions. First of all, I want to go back to what the gentleman was implying when he asked you about what you said. Whatever you said had nothing to do with what the final results were that were accomplished when we were able to save this country from bank runs, et cetera. Would you like to take a moment to talk about how successful we were when over 48 hours, you guys worked very hard to ensure that when we woke up on Monday morning, the banks would be safe and secure, and that, again, there would not be bank runs. Give us, America, some example of the fine work that was done.
I think what happened that weekend was something we should never want to repeat and have to do again. We had to take emergency steps. The unanimous vote of the Fed board and the FDIC board, with the concurrence of the Secretary and the President, decided to ensure uninsured deposits. It was extraordinary, and it is something we do not want to have to repeat. It was one of the fastest bank runs in history, pushed digitally. You know, it was social media, the modern age was involved. We are going to have to take steps to make sure that financial institutions can stay resilient even in these times of stress. I also think it woke people up to uninsured deposits, and there's more places where these uninsured deposits exist for consumers, and we need to make sure people know how to keep their money safe.
I thank you very much for reminding this committee of the good work that our government did in order to ensure that our banks are safe and secure. So I want to go to a question that I think needs to be given some explanation. I applaud you and the CFPB staff for issuing long overdue rules implementing Section 1071 of Dodd-Frank to provide transparency of the small business lending market. I worked with Congresswoman Velasquez and others to ensure that this measure was included in Dodd-Frank, and so that the same kind of transparency in mortgage lending could be made in small business lending. So, my colleagues on the opposite side of the aisle are quick to point to the burdens of data collection on lenders. Would you discuss how you took the concerns of small community banks and credit unions into account in the final rule?
Well, we made substantial changes from the proposal, including changing thresholds, which actually led, I believe, 2,000 of the smallest banks who do not do much small business lending to not have to report. We also changed the implementation period, so the large ones would go first with much more time for the smaller ones. We sought to simplify it. The final rule allows small banks and others to work together with their industry associations to help with reporting. We did a lot to make changes, but we had to implement the statute as the court directed.
Thank you. Now, would you also discuss the benefits to small businesses of all types will see from this rule, particularly for LGBTQ small businesses? And won't transparency in this opaque market help make the market more competitive and reduce costs for all small businesses?
Well, certainly the Paycheck Protection Program was a real sign that the government really lacked, and the market also lacked details about patterns of small business lending. We see that with more mortgage data, you actually invite smaller players to enter the market to fit unmet needs. I hope this data set really is going to be able to be used also to identify opportunities, meet needs, and really work together with other rules that are currently on the books that people can achieve compliance with.
Thank you. One thing I'm focused on is getting more information about the type of government programs supporting small businesses, including SBA loans, loans in CDFI, MAID loans. I believe this kind of data would help Congress better understand the full impact those various programs have in supporting small businesses in underserved rural and urban areas and help us to strengthen them. Do you agree?
Yes.
If so, would you work with me on how best to design such a requirement?
we always want to work with you, Congresswoman, and much of those loans may be captured partially, but we will work with you.
I thank you very much for your presentation here today, and I thank you for always working with us on behalf of the people of this country.
The gentlelady's
I
time
yield
has
back.
expired. The